Nobel Prize has been honouring men and women from around the world and organisations for outstanding achievements in physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature and for work in peace. The man behind the prize, Alfred Nobel, was a Swedish businessman who left his massive fortunes to be awarded each year to those that have demonstrated the greatest benefit to mankind. The first Nobel Prizes were awarded in 1901. And since then, the Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded 101 times to 135 Nobel Laureates, which are constituted by 107 individuals and 28 organisations. To tell us a little bit more about the Nobel Prizes, I'm now joined via Zoom by the Swedish Deputy Ambassador to South Africa, Larsson-Jain. Thank you so much indeed for joining us and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you, and good evening to all your viewers.
So this is always a very special week for the world. I know that it's come out of Sweden, Norway as well, and we'll explain that history just now. But this week I heard you say that the Nobel Prizes were more than just about achievements and celebrating excellence, but it was very much a part of Swedish culture. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I think a lot of Swedes feel this week, if you like. You know, this is the Nobel Prizes they're celebrated in Stockholm in December, in the darkest month of the Swedish year, and all these prominent people come to Stockholm. There's a fantastic award ceremony with the royal family. The king hands over the the awards and the diplomas, and then there's a fantastic gala dinner which is also shown on TV. So I think there's a lot of people who will also enjoy watching all these festivities, although this year is a little bit different. But so that's also how it is very much part of you know, a cultural thing. But of course also innovation has, through Alfred Nobel and many others, innovation is very much something that we like to work with and advancing science. So this is close to our hearts.
All right, let's do a little bit of history, because I think there's some interesting stories behind this. Because some people might wonder, why does this committee sit out of Oslo in Norway, and yet Alfred Nobel was Swedish?
Yeah, so there are 6 awards being given, and 5 of them come out of Stockholm, and 1 comes from Oslo, and that's the Peace Prize. And Alfred Nobel, who was Swedish, he lived in Sweden, but Norway was then under Swedish sovereignty, and it was only a few years later, actually, that Norway became its own country. So that's where he decided that he would also put one of the awards would be given from Oslo.
All right, and he was known for creating explosives, dynamite, and so, you know, the notion of a peace prize, some people might not be able to marry the two.
And I think that's it was actually sort of from that the Peace Prize also stemmed. And like you said, the awards themselves are for whoever has mostly contributed to the benefit of mankind in the previous year. So he came from this background where he created dynamite using nitroglycerin, which is very explosive. And he, in fact, had at least one very serious accident with his experiments where several people died, including his brother. And this is said to have been part of his motivation for why he wanted to give his fortune to sort of the betterment of humankind, to advancements that have benefited humankind.
All right, so tell us a little bit about the process of how one gets to a point where you get nominated and then this committee sits and decides who gets lauded.
Yeah, so it's the procedures are a little bit different from the 5 ceremonies or the 5 awards giving out of Stockholm for physics, chemistry, medicine, economics and literature, where specific people are allowed to nominate. So that's a bit of a smaller setting for getting nominations. For the Peace Prize, in fact, there's a very large group of people who can nominate. So it's university chancellors, there's governments, parliaments, And anyone who's been a Nobel laureate in the past as well can nominate. So they get a big range of suggestions for names. And then these committees come together and they evaluate and assess, and they get some more information on the candidates they think are the strongest ones. And then latest early October, they sit down and make the final decision on who will be this year's laureates.
All right. What do you think the Nobel Prizes have been able to do for society over time? Because I think this week also you said that it does much more than just celebrate excellence and achievement. It also contributes to dialogue.
Yes, I would say so. And if we just start with, the situation that we all find ourselves in at the moment with the COVID-19 crisis, science, and I will quote your own Professor Abdul Karim on this, but talking about how science has become so accessible to everyone these days, how it concerns all of us every day, and also understanding sort of scientific process and methods and understanding how science will evolve. So this is something that I think has really, in a way, science has come home to all of us in these days.
Yeah, COVID-19 certainly has changed everything. No ceremonies this year in the way that we've known, flying in the laureates and they're getting their medals and so on and so forth. And also this inspired this year's Nobel-inspired lecture. And you mentioned Professor Abdul Karim, but I believe Dr. Anders Tegnell was also part of that conversation. What came out of that chat that you had with the lecture? It was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes, it was yesterday. And this is in fact something that the embassy co-hosts together with South Africa's National Research Foundation in a great partnership that we have since many years. So we do this annual Nobel-inspired lecture, and we bring together scientists to talk about a topical subject. And this year it felt so natural to talk about COVID-19. I think what they both talked about was, there's good and bad science in their words, and some science is just simply not strong enough or well-based enough. And we have seen that, of course, during this crisis, that there's studies that come out which, actually show something which then turns out not to be correct when it comes to cures and so on. So they very much came together on that. And then I think, just to tie it back to Nobel, of course, Nobel is about celebrating that top quality science that really benefits mankind. So, but I think they also talked about the need for transparency and how the way we all follow day by day the developments around the understanding of this virus is also part of understanding science, accepting also that science evolves. We will know more in a while, and so on. So those were things I think that were great that we could hear both of them talk about and come together around.
All right, okay. You know what, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about these awards and how they've contributed to society, because a lot of the excellence that's come has been life-changing, actually, when you think of people like, is it Pasteur, Marie Curie? I can't remember, but I'll know. We'll chat about that right after this. Stay with us.